record this. So, all right, well, welcome. We're going to be talking about food costs today. So our presentation is about breaking down food costs, having a good understanding of it, and making sure that you are doing it currently in your business, okay? If you've ever taken my class before, whether it's at Vermont's Lawson or PCR or another center, a lot of the content is the same, but I think when you have different people in the conversation, it kind of makes it a little more engaging, and you can use some real life examples from your individual locations to help kind of foster that conversation. So again, my name is Asia Beard. If you didn't meet me at the last Wednesday market, I'll see you tomorrow. You guys are set up. And I'm here as a business coach and restaurant consultant. I have my own consulting business called Ask Asia Restaurant Consulting. I've been in hospitality a little over 26 years. 18 of those years were spent opening restaurants here in Los Angeles and in Las Vegas and in other states throughout the country. So I'm excited just to share, what I think is one of the most vital things in helping you be successful in your business, and that is food costs. So our agenda for today is talking about, first, we're going to define it. Then we're going to share some examples on how critical it is to the success of your business. And I'm really big on numbers, so I'm going to give you some examples of how it impacts your business and then how you are going to calculate it. And this is something that you can do at home. If you are comfortable with Excel, you can do it in Excel, but I'll also give you some guidance on where you can find the templates that you need in order to do this with some additional support. And then we're going to talk a little bit about disposables, which are all of the containers and plasticware that you use. And then since all of you are already in business, if you know that your food cost is high, I want you to have some tips that you can take away right now and start implementing to help reduce those food costs and get you back in line. And of course, we'll leave some time for Q&A. All right, so does everybody hear me okay? Because I am using headphones.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. A lot of people joining all at one time. Okay, let's get started. All right. So first, let's talk about what food cost is. Now, you can either use a chat or you can take yourself off mute. Just tell me what you think food cost is by definition.
I would say, good morning, everyone. I would say the total cost of all the items needed in order to fully run the weeks or the day of business. So everything, whether it's depending on what your business is. Like, for example, I do shave ice, so food cost for me would be the ice that I need, the syrups that I need, the topping, everything that I need to make it through the day. But I would also include food costs as lunch, breakfast, dinner, depending on how long I'm out there working, because I have to pay for that as well.
You mean your individual cost for yourself, right? If
Yes.
you have to go out and buy. Okay.
Yes.
So a little bit closer with the first part of your answer. Any other either guesses or what your beliefs are about food costs?
I believe it has something to do with basically how much it costs for you to make a specific item, and then also how much you're selling that item for.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to reveal kind of my definition. So food cost is absolutely used by operators to determine how much money they make back on the sale of the dish compared to how much it costs. And that's everything on, how much it costs, from your ingredients to the container, to the label you might have to stick on there, everything that it takes. But it's not what you spend on food every day, week, or month. So anytime I take on a new client, one of the first things that I'm going to ask them is, what's your food cost? Because for me, that's going to be a benchmark of where I need to start. And if they say, oh, I spend about $5,000 on groceries every week, I already know they don't have a full understanding of what food cost is. It shouldn't be a dollar amount. It is a percentage of your sales. So what percentage of your sales are you dedicating to purchasing all the ingredients to make those items? So that way we can determine if that percentage makes sense based on industry standards. If it's too high, that means you're not making the money on the dish that you should be. And if it's too low, you're doing really well. At least from a sales perspective and a food cost perspective. You may have some other issues in the business, but the food cost percentage is really what we want to look at to make sure that you're in line, because it's for most of us, it's a third of our business, if not more. Okay. So the other thing too with food costs, what I have found is that it will help you confidently, and then really, I really want to stress this, confidently decide on menu pricing, managing your inventory, and how you train your employees. So there's so much more to it than just sticking a price tag on a menu and hoping that you make money off of that. There's a lot more when it comes to the system of your business and you being successful. And it's truly one of the main ingredients to being successful because it directly impacts your profitability. And because I'm big on numbers and I think it's helpful for you to see examples of this, I have some examples I prepared for you. These are from real clients. Some of the dollar amounts have been changed, but these are actual clients of mine that I work with on food costs. So let's talk about the Beach Garden Social Club. They sell a bottle of Mexican Coke for $2.75. The bottle itself costs them $1, resulting in a 36% beverage cost. And how I got that number, I take the dollar, divide it by 275, what I'm selling it for, and it actually gives me a decimal point, 0.36. But with food costs, you want to look at things as a percentage. So it's 36% food cost, or technically beverage costs. So Ben, the owner, he wants to improve his beverage cost from 36% to 30%. So he decides to bump up the price from 275 to 325. So just a 50-cent bump. He currently sells a minimum of 60 bottles of Coke per day, 7 days a week. So let's see how this, additional revenue of 50 cents is going to add to his bottom line. So let's say 50 cents times 60 bottles of Coke, that's $30 extra per day. He's open 7 days a week, that's $210 per week. And he's open all year round, 52 weeks in a year. That's $10,920 per year that he was able to add to his bottom line just by raising the menu 50 cents, that one menu item. So just imagine when you start to increase every menu item, 25 cents, 50 cents, 60, whatever the increment is, it is immediately going to have an increase on your bottom line. Okay, so it's so important that you know what your food cost is because it'll help you make decisions when you're setting pricing. Maybe if Ben didn't know that he was at a 36% beverage cost and he didn't realize that maybe he should be at a better price, he might have left it at 275, or maybe he would have run a special and charged even less, and that would have potentially cost him some sales and some additional revenue. So we want to know what our food cost is so that way we can make confident decisions about how to set pricing. So that's how it affects your pricing. Let's look at how food costs can impact your inventory. So Sue Ellen, she owns Sad Girl Creamery. She stocks 3 cases of fresh grapefruit every week for their Paloma sorbet and 2 flats of organic strawberries for her strawberry shortcake taco. Okay. Now, the owner, she takes a weekly inventory, but let's say she hires somebody, right? And somebody else is doing this. If they start to notice that 1.5 cases of grapefruit are starting to mold and 1 flat of strawberries are also getting moldy before they can even use them, they would have to throw them away. So what they need to do is adjust their PARs. They're buying too much product for how much their sales are. But if you don't make these adjustments, if you didn't take inventory on a regular basis, which a lot of my small business vendors don't, and you just continue to order the same amount every week, and you have people that aren't telling you that you're throwing away things or that they're getting moldy, how much money would you potentially lose if you just maintain these same PARs and over ordered? Okay? First, we need to know the cost. What do those grapefruit and strawberry flats cost me? So the grapefruit case is $66.99 per case. That came from webstaurant.com. And then the organic strawberry flat costs $99.99, and that was sourced from Harry's Berries. So if we take 1.5 cases, multiply that by the $66.99, that's basically $50 per week of wasted grapefruit. When it comes to the strawberries, we're losing a whole flat. That's $100 per week that we're wasting. Add those 2 items together. We got $248 per week we are wasting in inventory. Now, there's 52 weeks in a year. If we kept on doing that, we would lose $10,424 per year. just because we didn't check our PARs or we don't have employees that are checking it, that are throwing away items. And usually you're going to catch something that's this egregious, but this is how bad it can get, especially as you have more ingredients, multiple items. Maybe it's not a full case, maybe it's a bottle, maybe it's, half a container, but it starts to add up very quickly. And so if you are counting your inventory, you're managing that more efficiently because you know how it impacts your bottom line. All right, last example, and this one is probably my favorite. How does it impact employee training? So Potluck, a food truck, is hosting an event where they are going to be contracted to feed 2,000 people. Tasha, the owner, she's serving a barbecue chicken sandwich for $14, and her recipe calls for 5 ounces of chicken breast on each sandwich. She purchases 80 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast from Smart & Final to cover 2,000 sandwiches and pays $5.99 per pound. She hires a new prep cook, Yesha, who does not have a recipe, and she's over portioning the chicken breast by 2 ounces, giving everyone a 7-ounce portion of chicken instead of 5 ounces. And that's on every single sandwich. So how much is this prep cook costing Tasha in sales and missing inventory by over portioning by just 2 ounces? And for some people, 2 ounces, they may not know the difference. It may seem like a small amount, no big deal, but those ounces add up very, very quickly. So if she buys the chicken breast at $5.99 a pound, so we know there's 16 ounces in a pound. If I divide that, I can see how much each ounce costs. I'm sorry, that should say per ounce. So 37 cents per ounce. There's 2 extra ounces that she's giving. That's 74 cents extra added on to each sandwich. 2,000 sandwiches that we prepare for us. That's $1,480 in wasted inventory. But keep in mind, when you're a food truck, you have a limited supply. So they tell you to show up for this amount and you show up and you run out of food. Depending on your contract, they may not pay you out for those additional missing sales. So if we run out of food because we're over portioning, let's say we're doing the 7 ounce instead of 5, there's 31 people that are not going to get their food. That's $14 per person that I'm missing. That's another additional loss of $434. So the total loss for the event was actually $1,914, which, maybe that doesn't seem like a big amount compared to the previous examples, but when you're in a food truck and maybe, if your profit is 2,000 or 3,000, losing $1,900 is a huge deal. So we want to make sure that not only we have recipes that are in place for all of our items, but we have the tools that are needed for our employees or our team members to properly portion, and we're doing just some double checking. Yeah. Any questions on these examples that I've shared so far? Kind of how that would work. Maybe plug your name into these examples and what you make to see how it makes sense for you.
I'm just a little confused on a pop-up standpoint, when we're going out to try to gain business and try to get sales. How are you able to, do this type of setup or whatever? Or not whatever, I'm sorry. How are we able to do this type of breakdown if we don't know exactly what to prepare for? And I guess that's my biggest problem, because I may ask someone, how many people are you expecting? And they'll say, oh, just 100 people. And then I get there and there's over 500 people. So I may come prepared for 100 people. However, I run out, or I don't sell at all, or, I'm overbuying and I'm not selling. So that's kind of where I'm just getting a little bit confused on how to plug me and myself into this.
Well, just keep in mind, food cost is going to be standard, whether you're serving 100 people or 1,000 people. The food cost is based on the recipe you created and how much you're spending on those ingredients and what your profit should be. So we're talking about 2 different things. So you're talking about, preparing, how to kind of advance, know what to purchase so that you don't run out. We just don't have crystal balls when it comes to events. And I've definitely been in situations where the event coordinator told me one number and it was either on both, I've been on both sides, where either not even half of that many people came and I'm over prepared, or like triple the amount came and I'm sold out within the first couple of hours. And it's, like a 6-hour event. So estimating that part, that's not something that this class is teaching you. What I'm showing you is how to maximize your food costs and have recipes in place so that way you are profitable when you are out there selling. Because if you're at a, a 50% food cost, and you have 100 guests versus 1,000, your 50% is going to make you less profitable. And you should not be at a food cost of that. So what I want you guys to understand is how much do my individual items sell for? What am I making off of them? What should my profit be? And does it make sense? Am I charging the right amount? Do I need to go back and look at the recipe? Do I have team members that are maybe costing me money? So we're talking about two different things. And so I want you to focus more on the items that you sell. Have you costed them out? Do you know how much you make off of each one? Because one of the things that you can do with food costs when you know it is if you do show up at a pop-up and you know everything costs you maybe $2 or $3 and you're selling it for $7, okay, I should be making $5 off each person. So if I serve 500 people, I should have $2,500 at the end of the day, right? Then profit. So we're looking at profit and we're looking at revenue versus how to calculate estimates. And so that could be something we can have a sidebar on. So, I don't know if it's Lonnie or Lonnie.
Yes.
Yes, you're gonna say?
So I don't control portion with my business. The customers serve themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I control the portion of the ice, but they pretty much pour the syrup.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was I in order to get a grasp of that, I wasted a bottle of syrup one day and I just made a bunch of ice and I just poured and poured, poured just to see how many, because you can only pour the room that's in the cup once ice is in the cup, right? You can't over pour, otherwise you're wasting. So once your cup is full, that's the maximum amount of syrup that a customer can pour. So I did that. I mean, I did this like 4 years ago, and that's how I got a kind of an idea of a concept of my portion. I put that in my price
Okay.
based on what it costs.
So you're
With
doing
that,
the max portion, right?
Right.
Because some people
So
are not
I
even going to
priced-
use that much syrup.
Right. Not everyone's going to overfill. A lot of people are like, that's a lot of syrup. That's a lot of sweet. I don't want my kids to have that much. So most people don't. So I price based off of the max portion that can be used. So did I
No, that's
miss
exactly
that?
right.
Did I miss anything?
No, that's perfect. Probably the only thing I would look at is if you calculated, the cup that you're using. I don't know if you give them a spoon and a straw with each,
Yes.
item. So just making sure you've costed all of that into the price will be
Yeah,
all the
I did all of that. I was under the impression that that's called a total breakdown. I didn't realize that the definition or the name for what I did is called food costs. So I did it. I did the right thing. I just had the wrong name. But yes, I did factor in.
Also factoring in if the bottle still costs the same as it did 4 years ago.
Yeah, we're gonna
Well, I rounded up because a bottle, like for example, let's say the syrup that I purchased costs $2.59 4 years ago. I factored it because when I got my business license, they told me I have 5 years. So I factored in potential gradual increase in price.
Inflation. Okay.
So I did my math based on like $3.50. So even if the bottle costs $3.86 now, I'm still within that window. I might be down by maybe 30 cents, but I factored in a higher price. So I went with the max number and I rounded up.
Perfect. That's exactly what you should do. When in doubt, I'm always big on rounding up. Like never round down, always round up. Okay, so
yeah, I rounded up to the nearest dollar.
If you were to Google food cost formulas, you're going to get a whole bunch of formulas out there, but there's really only two I would want to focus on right now in class just to not overwhelm people. So the two that I focus on are recipe cost, and there's two different versions. I call them simple and complex, but they're both recipe costs. And then plate costs, because we do have a lot of clients who don't serve just individual items. They serve a plate of something that has multiple sides, and you want to know how to calculate that. So the simplest one we're going to do first, you would use this for single item recipes, or if you were someone that is buying something that is already fully made and all you're doing is reselling it, which sometimes we do with what we all do with a lot with our beverages, like our canned beverages, if you sell candy or things like that, chips. So this is what you would use for your single item recipes. So just to give another example, you run El Chivo Mexican restaurant and you purchase tamales from a local tamale vendor. You need to know how much each tamale costs before you can determine how much you want to sell them for. A case of 50 tamales is $30. How much does each tamale cost you? The simplest formula is you take the purchase price, you divide it by how many portions are in that, and that'll give you your recipe cost. So if we plug in the numbers with this, we've got $30 divided by 50. Each tamale costs 60 cents. Now that I know it costs 60 cents, I can decide how much I want to charge per tamale based on whatever I've budgeted my food costs to be. So a lot of restaurants are anywhere between 25 to 35% on food costs. If you're at, 25% easy math, you mark it up 4 times. If you want to be at 30%, you mark it up 3 times. But if you don't do this formula to figure out how much it costs you per tamale, and you have a competitor, let's say down the block, who's selling tamales 2 for $1, and you try to compete and do that same special, you're actually losing money every time you sell your 2 for $1. Right. And so this is where I see a lot of clients make that mistake, is they're basing their prices just on their competitor. And that's not giving you the full picture. You need to know how much your costs are. You don't know what people's discounts are, who they know, if they're making things in-house. They might be getting things at a much lower price than you, which is why they can offer a lower price. And without that knowledge, you could be kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But this is kind of the simplest case scenario. That's not what most of us are doing. Most of us need an actual template if you are doing anything that requires a recipe. Okay, so this particular template was sourced from smallfoodbiz.com. There is a fee for it. However, if you are comfortable with Excel, you can recreate this in Excel in a very simple way. And that's what I do with clients one-on-one. I will have this template out and we just start plugging in the items for each recipe. I'll usually do about 2 or 3 with them until they get the hang of it. And then I give them the template and they're off and running. They cost out everything else. But you really want to make sure you understand and have accurate pricing and calculations, because if you put the wrong information in here, you're going to get the wrong information out. And that's going to do you no good. So I just want to walk you through this particular template, because again, this is something that most of you will be using. First, you need, 4 things before you can even start this template. You need to have a list of all the ingredients for that recipe. So in this case, we've got grandma's chocolate chip cookies. Is every single ingredient that's going to go in there. We need to know how that ingredient comes. So when you buy it, is it a 5-pound bag? Is it a 2-ounce, little tiny bottle? Is it, a 25-pound bag of, flour? However it comes, we need to know the exact way it comes. And what this particular template did is they converted everything to ounces. And I actually stick with that. I usually just do ounces because it's easier to convert in case you have smaller measurements. It's not as, I wouldn't go as small as grams. It's just too small. But ounces seems to be pretty consistent for everybody. The third thing you need to know is how much did you pay for it? So again, whether it's a 5-pound bag, 25-pound bag, 1-ounce bottle, how much did you pay for that individual item? So you're going to be plugging in information in column 1, 2, 3. Column 4, you leave alone. There's a formula in here that does that simple formula that I did earlier, which is your price divided by portion, tells you how much it, or divided by the portion that's in the container, and it'll give you the unit per price. So in this case, this all-purpose flour, it's a 400-ounce bag. You just convert that to pounds and you'll know what that is. For $13.99, we take $13.99 divided by 400, we get 3 cents an ounce. The last thing you would need to know is how much of it are you putting in the recipe. So in this column here, you're plugging in your recipe increments. So in this formula, they've got 10.35 ounces, okay? This final column does one more formula for you and multiplies the units in the recipe times the per unit price. So 3 cents times 10.35 gives me 0.362 of this particular ingredient. And you just do this for everything. So if I were to add this final column up, the batch recipe costs $9.32. This batch produces 60 cookies. Now I can do my original simple formula, which was the price divided by the amount, 932 divided by 60, it's 15 cents per cookie. Now I know it's 15 cents, I can decide how much I want to sell it for. And I will tell you, bakers usually have much better margins. So bakers are usually kind of high teens, low 20% food cost because the ingredients are so much cheaper. Where a lot of bakeries struggle is on the labor side. Their labor is usually way out of whack because it just takes so much more time to make their product. But anyway, so in this particular case, now we know what we can, now we can decide what we want to charge for it, and we can break it down. We want to have a wholesale price, we have a retail price. And so without knowing how much it costs per cookie, I'm not sure how people accurately set their prices without guessing. So this is a template again that I would encourage you guys to use, and you would cost out every single one of your your items down to the ingredient. Any questions on that so far? And I will say, for a lot of people, it might seem cumbersome, but I can tell you now, you invest the time to do this once. The only time you need to go back is if somebody changes the price. If all of a sudden all-purpose flour went up to, $16.99, you just come in, you change this one menu item price, and then the rest of the formulas will kick in, and then you have an updated cost. So, it's something that you do once, and then you revisit again only if the prices change dramatically. I mean, if it went up like 10 cents, 20 cents, I probably wouldn't even bother recalculating, because when I did the final menu price, I'm sure that I would have rounded up to cover that. But if something really increased by a significant amount, you want to go in and readjust this. Okay.
Honestly, it was one of the best things that I ever took the time to do. So I agree with you.
Okay,
And
good.
but I have a question. So I should make how many times more than what I spend? Again, I think I missed that.
So it depends on what you want your margins to be. So most restaurants, so if brick and mortar locations are between 25 and 35% food costs. A lot of bakeries are closer to about 18 to 20% food costs. So you're the banana pudding, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then I would want to be closer to like that 20, 23% at the most, maybe 25 you could cap it at. So that's marking it up 4 times.
So like if my bowls cost me, let's just say $5 total to make, because my ingredients are really expensive, honestly. So let's just say each bowl costs $5. I should sell it for what?
So I can tell you, it depends on the size. How big of a portion is that?
12 ounces.
Okay, I can tell you right now, the ingredients, whatever you're using, that cost already sounds too high. Because technically you would want to mark it up anywhere between 3 and 4 times. So is somebody going to pay the $15 or $20 for it? Now, if they are, great. But if you're finding that people aren't going to pay that, then we need to go back and look at the recipe and see what can we tweak, or can we make the portion a little bit smaller, so that way if it is marked up, maybe it's a price point that people are willing to pay.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I'm charging $12. I charge $1 an ounce, basically.
Yeah, but if it's costing you $5 and you're charging 12, so let's do the food cost real quick.
Honestly, my 5, and it's not 5, it's actually 6. But that's including how much I pay, who helps me, and it includes everything all the way down.
So you're including labor costs. Okay, so labor costs are a little bit
Yes.
different. Yeah, this is specifically talking about food costs. What you're talking about is prime cost. So prime cost is labor costs and food costs added together, and you should be between 60 and 65%. So then you are in line, but you were
Okay.
kind of scaring me a little bit of
No,
okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I added everything that cost me all the way
Right,
down to
right. Completely
Yeah.
landed everything in. Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're right. You're right. All right, so let's talk about plate costs, and this would be more for the clients who are selling multiple items on one plate, but we're back at El Chivo Mexican restaurant. Now we're doing a tamale plate instead of selling those tamales by themselves. Now the plate includes 2 tamales, 5 ounces of rice, 5 ounces of beans, 3 ounces of pico de gallo, and 2 ounces of fresh salsa. And I really want you to see that I have everything portioned out, because that is critical when it comes to calculating your food costs. We sell this plate for $10, but it costs us $3. Okay, what is my food cost? So the formula, we take the cost divided by the sales price, and that'll tell me my plate cost. The 3 divided by 10, 30 cents was what the calculation will come out, but we want to make sure that we're looking at it as a percentage. So we have to multiply it by 100. So we're at a 30% food cost. So if you've budgeted to run 30% food cost, you've reached your goal. Now, if you wanted to, if you feel like you can get it, you can always charge, 10, 13 more, and that's going to make the food costs go down lower, but that means that that's extra revenue going to your bottom line. We want to at least meet the budget, right? We don't want to be above budget because it's going to affect our overall food cost for the location. But if we can get more and get it even lower, that's even better. But what's critical about this is if you're not portioning, right? If you got an employee that's maybe doing, again, 7 ounces of rice, 8 ounces of beans, giving them double on the peak, like doubling everything else up, it is going to drastically impact not only your profitability, but it's going to impact your food costs. Okay, questions on the plate cost and how to calculate that. And so if this was my restaurant, then I would have one of those spreadsheets for my rice. I'd have another spreadsheet for my beans. I'd have another spreadsheet for my pico de gallo so that I would know how much each of these items cost me. So if someone says, hey, can I get, instead of beans, can I get rice? If I know that the price is comparable and it costs me, absolutely, sure you can. But if I go somewhere and someone says, hey, instead of rice, can I get mac and cheese? No, there's going to be a price bump on that because it costs a different amount. So it's important that you do have a handle on every single item that's in your location. So when because people are going to try to change things up on your menu and mix and match, that you can confidently say, yes, we can do an exchange for that, or sure, I can exchange that, or I can do that, but it's a 50-cent bump or a $1 bump, whatever that is. So that way you don't lose out on the revenue. Okay, let's go to your disposables. So disposables are all of those to-go containers, your cups, the little ramekins with the lids, everything that is kind of plastic or disposable that you are giving with your product. Because everything, especially with the night market, especially with, food truck vendors and pop-up vendors, everything's disposable, right? You don't have a dishwasher in the back that can recycle those dishes for you. So you need to add these amounts into your food cost, right? So when I work with clients on that spreadsheet, the next thing, after we figure out all the ingredients, the next thing it says, okay, what do you serve this in? And what do you give with it? So we can add that into our ingredient cost, even though it's not necessarily ingredient, but if you have a pie, right? We're not selling a pie straight from the oven. It's going to go into, a container, or it's going to go into some other vessel before you give it to the client. And that's for every single one. So it is like an ingredient. When you do this, you want to use that simple math to calculate the cost. So you use that same purchase price divided by portion, gives you your item cost. So if I'm trying to figure out, something for a beverage, if I order 1,000, 20-ounce plastic cups that come with a lid and it costs me, $110, I know each one costs me an extra 11 cents I'm going to add on as an ingredient. And some of those disposable items can get pretty pricey, especially if you're using some of the more eco-friendly, earth-friendly materials. They are often more expensive. So, you may have a container that's costing you 40 or 50 cents in addition to everything that's going into it. So it's imperative that you are calculating these additional items. And I'm not saying sit there and count out every single napkin that you're giving to folks. That's why we just round up. But again, if you are using sort of a premium item, especially if you're getting things with your logo printed on them, which are definitely more expensive, you want to make sure that that's listed. Okay, so we talked about, the food costs, we've talked about, the disposables, but how do we cost out everything else, right? So maybe you've got labels, or a sticker, some kind of paper, liner, holder, you can use just these vendors here. And I have all of your emails based on what you registered in, and they'll have like a little cheat sheet that I can send to you guys that'll have these links. But you can cost them out here to figure out what this potentially is going to add on to my costs before you actually purchase them. So, if you have a sticker that has, 12 different colors on it, that's going to be a different price than a sticker that's just black and white. Or again, if you get something that is, a little cutesy to go with it, if you have, a specific colored, shaped spoon, boba straws or different price from regular straws, you just want to make sure that you're calculating all of that in. Okay, so let's talk about just some general percentages on what food costs should be. So I kind of share with you, restaurants are usually between 25 to 35. Some like fine dining restaurants are a little bit higher. Pizza shops have great margins. These are beer, drinks, soft drinks. But these are just some general numbers to kind of help you if you're calculating something. If you've got a soft drink, on your menu, what that percentage should be. And this all comes from restaurantowner.com, which is a great resource. You can also use that if you want to look up some other statistics for our industry. One other thing too, before you finalize your costs, you want to think about, what are some things that you should consider with your pricing? You have a final decision, but sometimes there's things that can help improve what that price should be. Maybe you have an idea of selling it for 12, but if every single vendor that you find that has a similar item is selling it for 12, but yours is better, maybe you can be at 13, 14, maybe even 15. You have to think also the level of service. If you're providing something that is, a little more specialized, you can get a higher price point. Ingredients, if you're out here promoting non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, more high-end ingredients, organic, these are things that people will pay for. So you may want to give yourself a little bump. Convenience, if you have something that people can't get anywhere else, just because, maybe where they're located, maybe you do a pop-up and you're like one of 2 vendors and, there's tons of people there, and for them to go anywhere else, it would be, getting in their car and driving or a very long walk. You may be able to bump up your price. I've definitely gone places where there were pop-up vendors and it was either a concert, movie in the park, something like that. Yeah, I'm going to pay the 15 bucks for the hamburger and fries, even though I maybe wouldn't normally do that, but because it was convenient and right there, I did. Also location, again, if you go to the airport and you buy a bag of M&Ms there, it's going to be a very different price if you go to the local 7-Eleven. So if you get contracted for a location, I know Vanessa with LA Profit Brand, she was at the airport. She doesn't have to charge the same price as if she was at Limerick Park, right? Because people are going to pay a little bit more for that location. If there's something unique about what you do, if you have, Latanya mentioned like she's got banana pudding and she had some flavors that I have never seen before with banana pudding. Those I would sell at a premium, right? They're not the same traditional thing that people would expect. It's unique. I would give yourself a little bit of a price bump. And then other things you can think about are company mission. And this actually kind of can work in both ways. I've had people who have purposely lowered their price because they were trying to cater to a certain community and they wanted to offer their products there. And that was just part of their mission. And we just figured out a way to improve their profitability in other ways. There's a lot of different things that go into food costs. This is a starting point for you. But if you get out there and you see that people are willing to pay more, I always say, let the market set the price. I had one lady who was selling cookies for $4.50, and I thought that was a little expensive for a cookie. But guess what? People were buying them. So I'm not going to tell her to lower her prices if people are buying them. I'm saying, do what you can, create bundles, create different mix and match options so that way people see a little more value when they do buy from you. Okay, now let's say you already are established and you're trying to figure out how to troubleshoot a high food cost. So the easiest way to troubleshoot food cost is you can bump the price up, right? That's the easiest way, but that's not always the most effective way. If you have a price sensitive crowd, bumping the price up is not going to help you. It may drive away sales. So you want to be careful with that and to really kind of test your market. For me, I would first decrease the portion size. I would rather give a little, like an ounce less or 2 ounces less, because we saw how that improves your profitability on the reverse way, or in the very first example, when they were over portioning. But if I under portion a little bit and charge the same price, then I'm going to be pocketing that extra revenue. You can also negotiate a better price from your vendor. So depending on who you use, I know a lot of small vendors are working with other small vendors. And so let's say I'm working with a tamale vendor and I say, you know what, that $30 a case is a little too much. How about we do 25? And if they agree and I've saved $5 off a case, that's a big impact for my business. So ask, especially if you have been a longstanding customer and you've not gotten any kind of benefits or perks. And sometimes they can't give you a lower price, but they might say, I can't give you a lower price, but I tell you what, you order 5, I'll give you a free case. That's like getting a lower price, okay? If they're not willing to do a lower price, you can always switch vendors, you know, pending that they have the same quality. And a lot of the times you can find other vendors with better price points. So look, do some research, switch your vendors, or you can switch brands. So if you are ordering from, you know, a bigger distributor, let's say Cisco, or even if you're going to Restaurant Depot, they've got their off brand and then they sometimes have a name brand. Sometimes it's worth switching to the off brand, especially if it's something that's just going into a mix, or maybe it's just a garnish. It's not something that's guest facing where people are actually going to see it. I tell people, an example I had, I was ordering from Cisco Heinz ketchup. That was the standard that we had, the little PC packets. And one day they were out and they substituted Hunt's ketchup. I put that out. Nobody said anything. Nobody said, where's the Heinz, right? But that brand was 30% cheaper. So for me, as you know, managing that account where I get incentivized to have a lower food cost, I just kept using Hunt's, right? The other big thing is employee portion control. You know, you can do all this work. You can, you know, calculate, you know, find the best vendor. But if you have that one employee who is double portioning every single time they come and work with you, it's killing your food costs. So you want to again, have a system in place where they know how to portion. Minimize any comps and freebies. So I'm a big fan, especially when pop-ups, to give people like a free sample. But I noticed, and I don't know if she's on, yeah, Dippity Donuts, Shaka, I was just suggesting to them when I saw them is they have a beautiful display of donuts, but they have a lot of display of donuts, right? So we don't want to have too many out there where it's going to have a lot of waste. And we want to minimize whatever comps we give. You know, we all have, you know, friends, family want to come by and support and see us. But if every other client that comes is a family member or friend and we're giving them a free product, we're killing our food costs, right? We're not making anything off of that. So we want to minimize it, you know, maybe even have a little sample bite or something that you have prepared that you can give away, that you've accounted for, but you want to reduce that as much as possible. And the big killer is waste. You know, if you have something that you are not able to repurpose and you're just throwing away, we need to figure out a way to reduce that overage. Maybe you are prepping a little bit less. Maybe you are, you know, making a batch, but maybe half of it you're putting away in like the cooler or freezer and not having it with you so that way you can use it because it's not going to get wasted because it's sitting out all day. So we need to figure out ways to reduce waste. You got to do inventory. I know nobody seems to like to do inventory, but I can tell you now, if you are not checking your inventory, you're really managing your location in the blind, right? So we need to check our inventory. I personally prefer a weekly inventory, even though it's a pain in the butt. But at minimum, at least do it every month. So that way you are aware of the product that you have on hand, you're using it, making sure it's not getting not expiring on you, and that it is actually the amount it's supposed to be. I've caught many thieves just by checking inventory. And then I would say you have to use technology. You know, I think everybody that I spoke to had a POS system, but sometimes people don't. If you don't have something that's helping you track your sales, that's helping you track, you know, your invoices, then again, you're not managing, you're kind of managing with two hands tied behind your back. You need to have access to the product that's coming in and how much you are purchasing. So that way you can calculate these numbers. There are reports that you can run from your POS station that will show you how much your sales are, when you're the busiest, inventory that's coming in that's not being circulated. And a lot of those POS systems have YouTube training videos, or on their website they have training videos, or there's an app that you add on and you can have access to it. So you've got to use technology. If you're trying to do everything in your head and your mind, there's too much that you have to remember, that this is just one thing and you can take off of that plate and delegate it to the computers. Any questions on the troubleshooting, you know, what to use, or even any other suggestions that I've missed?
I just wanted to say that to piggyback on the POS system, it really, I'm familiar with inventory, and it really helped me with my inventory, because not only do I do just my count, my cups come 50 count per sleeve.
Mhm.
So as long as multiple sleeves are not open at a time, it's easy to just count like 50, 100,
Yep.
50, 100.
Mhm.
And then you just count that one or two open sleeves depending on how busy your day was. And it really helps to match at the end of the week. It really helps to match with what the POS, because the POS system, as I make a sale, it deducts from whatever inventory I put in the system. So it'll let me know if I'm running low. I mean, even when I ring it up, it'll let me know if I'm running low or if I'm okay. So then I know I need to place an order. And it's the tiles when I'm making my POS screen, the tiles that I'm able to make to ring up, you know, the picture tiles, even those can be rang up at $0 if you do something like an employee cup, because people will drink water and people will be like, oh, can I have a cup for water, or can I buy a cup from you for 50 cents? And it's like, okay, well, it's not a sale, but it's a
It's
removal
still a
of an
transaction.
item.
Yep.
So
And
it
it
does
takes,
help. It does help to track when numbers go low, or if you're not using a particular product, why would you buy it again? So it does help with when I'm placing my order. It really, really does help when I put it through the POS system. I wish it would count it for me, but it doesn't.
oh, it's also
Quick
going to help
question,
with, go ahead.
Calypso, quick question. Does it also do like your different syrups so you know which one's running out without looking at the bottles?
It's kind of hard to track the syrups because it doesn't break it down by the ounces. It just says that I have 2 bottles of syrup. So for me, what I do is I just buy the gallon, and my bottles are BPA free and they're safe. So they're reusable. So I had the restaurant thing that installs in your sink that washes the bottle out
Yep.
and sanitize it. And I just refill. And when I get to, I just keep track of my gallons. I have 12 flavors consistent. And then I have additional flavors that are not consistent. I think 40% of my line is sugar-free, and I have 4 vegan flavors. Um, so I just monitor them. The vegan flavors I make when I'm ready to use them.
But the other thing too is because it is self-service, you're not ringing in the flavors. So I have worked in shaved ice locations where you are ringing in the flavors, and yes, it will give you a countdown and let you know what you're running low on. But you would have
Yeah,
to ring.
I'm not tracking flavors.
So it is important when you set up your POS, if there is something specific you want to track, that you do. So, you know, sometimes I'll go to a client and they've got soda and it's one button. We don't want just one button. We want to know which soda did they order, because especially if you're doing bottles or cans, you want to know which you want the inventory to count, and you want to be able to track it. Now, if you're doing fountain drinks or something like that, then you're just going back and checking the bibs that back in the box to make sure the syrup is full, and that's just an inventory check. But if you're actually using your POS to count down your inventory, then you would need to put those individual items. Any other questions on that?
Yes, is there a POS system that you recommend?
I mean, they all, after a while, start to kind of blend together. They're very competitive, but I have about 4 or 5 that I just work with that I've put into locations. So Clover, Toast, Square, Touch Bistro, and Lightspeed. But the 2 that I would say, no, the 3 that are kind of the top that I'm seeing consistently is Clover, Toast, and Square. But they do have different price points. So it really kind of depends on what your budget is. But as far as functionality, they basically have very similar functionality.
Okay. Yeah, I already use Square, so I've been thinking about it, but having to dish out an extra $300-400 hasn't been in the plans for the last couple of months. But
Right.
I am noticing that it is a lot easier for me to just go with that investment. So that's fine. I'll look into it today.
Okay. Any other questions? I think more so about the food costs too. If you guys have questions about it, I mean, just by either comments in the chat, how many people have actually costed out all of their food items? They know exactly how much it costs, right? They know exactly how much they should make off of each item.
Only because
So,
let me just say, only because I looked up and my sister has like a whole marketing degree and she's like
okay, right,
so
right.
she pulled me in on a lot of stuff like early in my business. So I had help, and then I had some background in food service. So with what she had going and what I knew, I had a couple of jump starts on some things. But
Good,
yeah,
good.
I'm actually, and I'm a little high, but I'm actually at like 37% for food costs.
Mm,
So I want to get down to like 33.
yeah. And I would say, yeah, for sure, because shaved ice, I've usually seen them in like the mid 20s. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's only because the syrups are so inexpensive, and then it is just ice, right? And we want to try to get that number down a little bit more if we can.
yeah. I buy the high price syrup.
Mhm. It's
I
okay. I'm just saying, your price should
You know,
reflect it.
what I
Maybe you need to
noticed,
do a little bump. Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
was just gonna comment on that. I actually noticed, so I was using a brand of shaved ice syrup that came with my machine. And it was really expensive. It took a long time to come in, and also because of the summer, they was always sold out. But I've actually noticed that people like my cheaper syrups better than they did the other ones for some reason. Like my First
Mm,
Street syrups, nobody complains about them at all. The
mhm.
other ones, they'll be like, oh, it's not sweet enough, or
Right.
it just doesn't taste right. So I just noticed that like the cheaper ones, they actually like better, especially with my syrups for my funnel cakes, like the Deli and
Mhm.
Lions. I usually buy those, but people don't care if it's Hershey, to be honest. Like their taste buds are more acclimated with those tastes anyway, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
No, I hear you. And I think it depends on the demographics too, right? Like it means certain people are gonna like things that might be a little more sugary. And then other, like depending on if you go to a different market, somebody might be looking for things that have more of like a fresh, like, they want to see the chunks of fruit, in the dessert kind of thing. So I I think you need to cater to what makes sense for your business and the product that you want to that you want to serve and what's aligned with your brand.
I
and
have one last
I agree with
question. I'm
her
sorry. I
in the
have one
area.
last
Okay, only
one
one
last.
person.
Yeah, go ahead. Melissa.
I was just gonna say I agree with her, but in the area, some of the areas that I work in, First Street has a low inventory. They're down to like four or five flavors,
Mhm.
and I have a 12 flavor spread, so I had to switch over to the next, which took the price to a different bracket. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, the First Street flavors are very popular. A lot of
Yep.
people love the First Street, but they're really sweet. I think that's why, because they have a lot of flavor.
Mhm. Miss Joy, you're on mute if you're trying to say something.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
was told that there was like a store on like Jefferson, like a restaurant store. Do you know
Mhm.
what you need to be able to go inside of there?
Yes, you just need to have your EIN number. So that's Restaurant Depot. I go there a lot. So it's Jetro/Restaurant Depot. But yeah, you just need to sign up. There's no charge for it. I tell everybody that's a small business, just sign up, even if you don't use them, even if you're still going, to your local Smart and Final, at least have access to it because you'll be surprised at what they do have. But yeah, you would need to fill out an application and they ask for your EIN number.
Okay, and is that in person or online?
I did mine in person, but I do believe you can do it online.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Here, I'll actually pull it up. If you guys are not signed up with Restaurant Depot, I would highly, highly encourage you to just go over there and set up a application. It's just like a one-pager application, and get your little key fob so you can swipe in and out. I mean, their logo is literally where the restaurants shop. So they're doing things at wholesale prices. So here is just the
You're
website.
also able to go to Restaurant Depot and ask for a 1-day pass.
And
I'm
then
sorry, I missed that.
she said that
Can
you
you
can
hear
go
me?
there. Yeah, you can go there and get a 1-day pass as well.
Okay, yeah, I think I should just go ahead and go up there and see how much their cost is.
And
To
yes,
be
you can do
able
it
to do
online.
the food costs. Okay.
Yeah, you can do it online. So this is that right here. In fact, I'll just drop this in the chat really quick. And if you are somebody that still has a Costco membership or has a Costco membership, Costco Business is also, some things can have a better price, not always, because sometimes they're actually sometimes a little bit higher, but they have some good deals too. And Webstaurant, I use Webstaurant all the time. And here, let me go to that. That's another one where you just place an order. It's not a membership site, and then you get the pricing. And you do get discounts based on the quantity that you buy. But I mean, everything here. I mean,
Is webstaurant.com or .org online?
.com. I dropped it in the chat. And can you guys see my screen? I'm sharing it now. It says Webstaurant Store.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear someone now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Canton, the store, a warehouse store called Canton downtown. I think it's Alameda Street. They're great and it's inexpensive.
Can you put that information in the chat, please?
You said the one off of Alameda, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe, it's on Alameda. I know it's on the corner. I believe it's on Alameda.
Okay, you sound like crackly, but I will pull up somebody asked to put that in the chat. So
I'm in a garage. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries, no worries.
Question, Asia, when you said using restaurant, do you think that the $99 membership is worth it? Like, cause I've ordered from them a couple times, but then I noticed that they had that, if you do the $99 membership and they have like the net 30 and all of this, do you think it's worth it? I mean, cause I shop at all those other places.
I think it only depends on what you're buying from them. If you're buying consistently from them, yes. But if you can find that product somewhere else at the same price, then probably not. It really depends on what you're buying. But I have people that buy from there, like that's our weekly vendor. So for them, it makes sense. Here's the Canton website. And I can just share the screen as well, just so you can see the website.
And
I couldn't make that out.
There's no membership.
I personally have not used Canton, so there was somebody else that mentioned that.
They have a thing where you give your tax information and you get tax free. You don't have to pay taxes.
Well, if that's your resale permit,
You're breaking up really bad. You have to go to another area, huh?
I think you're talking about the resale permit. So you can do that at any of these other places. Even if you're at Cisco, you show them your resale permit and then they don't charge you the taxes because you're going to collect those taxes when you sell it to your clients.
And that's at all the stores that you
Yeah,
mentioned.
that's not just Canton. Yeah.
And is the resale license the same as a seller's permit, or is that two different things?
No, they're two different things. Your seller's permit is just, you are going to collect the taxes that you're supposed to collect. The resale permit is what you give your vendor so they don't charge you tax because you're going to collect it. So they are two different things. All really good questions and dialogue. Anything else? Because the food cost part we're done, but if you guys need a little more time just to kind of talk about some other, resources, I'm happy to stay on and we can talk about that a little bit more.
I did share in a little, I'm not for sure who that was. I did share in the little group chat that we have on Instagram that, what is it called? Sorry. That honey blue book. I mean, what is it called? Oh man. 1 second.
Well, while you're looking that up, I was going to ask, does anybody need a POS system? Are you still doing things manually? And need a referral to some of these POS
Yeah,
companies?
I need a POS. I'm looking into buying one.
Okay.
Really soon.
Okay, and Clover does have where you can lease it. So a lot of the other companies don't have leasing programs, but that's why I end up referring Clover a lot because it's a little less upfront capital. So I can connect you to her, but then I can still connect you to a Toast rep and I can connect you to another one, just so you at least have 3 options. I'm really big on getting at least 3 quotes on things, especially when it's a big purchase like this, because you don't want to have to keep changing all the time. So, okay, so Shanika and then Miss Joy, Special Joy. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Oh, I
Can I
did share that Spicy Green Book is having a pop-up in November. I don't know if anyone is interested. They are just requesting that you are at least 50% Black owned and that you're registered in their system.
Oh, okay, nice. So I'm like spicygreenbook.org.
Yes,
I
they're
do
having an event in Anaheim.
Here, I'll drop that in the chat. And then here's the website, just
I would like to
The
share
link is
something.
actually on their Instagram
oh, nice.
that I found.
Where's the, okay,
That would be November 13th.
November, okay, that's what I was looking for, just the event. But- Nice.
And then I actually did sign up for that. Is it okay if I use the address for our Wednesdays pop-up for the photographer?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, so I think, I don't know if she, oh, Jen, want to comment on that?
That's the only thing. I don't have an actual location for them to have someone come out and take pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I can answer. Yes, you can use the address because they'll come out and they'll do a photo shoot of just your business only.
Nice.
Okay.
This is Jen chiming in. I've been talking to, I hope I'm saying his name right, Danilo, to actually have him come work with us as a group. So if you do have an appointment with the photographer and they come out on a Wednesday, that would be great because then they can kind of get a feel of what we're looking like right now. And it will help guide them as they figure out how they can best help us. But we've been talking to them and they really want to support the Black Women Vend program. So yes, you can use our location.
So far, it looks like I've got.
Also, with the POS system, people that are asking about POS, one thing that I did, because I know when you get your card reader from whatever company you choose to go with, you either have to have a hotspot so you can Bluetooth it or some type of electrical feeding. So what I did was I opened up another line with my phone company and I got a tablet. And that tablet functions as a phone line of its own. I can do everything but make phone calls from that tablet. I can send text messages, email. I'm on the tablet right now doing the Zoom call. And because it's a phone line, it has the same unlimited internet service that my cell phone has. So it's a 10-inch, I think it's like 10 or 11-inch screen, and it Bluetooths the whatever POS company you choose to go with, Square, Clover, PayPal, whoever you're working with. And so that eliminates having to purchase or pay for a hotspot because it has unlimited internet as long as you have good service where you are. So that helps.
That's a great tip. Thank you for sharing that. I actually really like that.
You see,
That's a great tip.
Can you just use your phone?
You can just use your phone, but a lot of people are nervous about signing your phone because they're worried about you screenshotting their signature or running their credit card, and they're worried about you being able to screenshot their information and save it. It gives the customer a little bit more comfortability when you look like you have a register.
Right.
So I have a cash
Absolutely.
box. I have my tablet sitting on top of my cash box, and once I ring everything up, I turn it around and I give them the stylus and let them go through the process of either entering their PIN or inserting their card or tapping the card, so they feel like they're doing a whole purchase. You slide it through your phone, it works just the same, but again, your phone is in your hand, and they walk away with this discomfort, like, where did my information just go? Can she store it, or can he store it, or whoever?
And the other thing, you just want to make sure you're protecting those clients' cut the credit card information, because I know that I've used somebody's Square, like the little tiny reader that was on their phone, and then I had a ton of fraudulent activity on my account afterwards because they probably didn't have it vetted. So you just want to be careful with that. And then I think Crystal put in the chat as well that Square has a free POS system. They do, they just have very, very limited functionality. So if you have a menu that has a lot of modifiers or other things that you need to be a little more detailed, that free version is not very useful. But if you have, again, a very simple menu, it will work. But I know I've had a lot of clients they've had to switch from the free version of Square and upgrade to the restaurant version just so they could have, the menu capability that they needed.
And it costs more. That
Yeah,
percentage that you pay back
the
is-
merchant fees are higher. Yes, that's another big thing too with POS is when you are looking at them, make sure you ask them what their merchant processing fees are. Even if it's like just a point something different, it adds it to a lot. I mean, I just showed you how 50 cents, can affect your bottom line. So imagine if most of your clients are paying with credit cards and you're getting charged an extra 0.5% fee on it, it's going to affect your revenue.
And don't be afraid to have a electronic fee on your POS system as one of your charges as well, because you have to pay that fee as well. So,
or even put minimum. Yeah, you can put them like, to waive that fee, you have to spend, $15, $20, whatever you want it to be. So that way that can at least increase your sales. So far I've got Jamela, Marcel, Shanika, Miss Special Joy, Alexander, and Semrit. I'll send you guys some referrals for POS vendors. Okay, we got 2 participants that raise their hand. Is it Nadia?
Yes.
Okay.
I need one as well, if you can give me that information too. But I was gonna ask, because I've seen a lot of food trucks, not necessarily pop-ups, but a lot of food trucks when they're using their POS, they charge $1. Do you think that that's too much on top of, I guess, if they charge for taxes? I mean, if they add on taxes, but $1 on top of that, do you think that that's too much?
I don't, but that's also me. Just being in this industry, I don't. And just keep in mind the taxes. So that's not necessarily something the client should be complaining about if you're charging tax, because you are technically turning that money into the state. That's not something you're pocketing.
Right. I'm not talking about
Yeah,
taxes.
the dollar fee. You're talking about the dollar fee on top of.
Yeah, on top of the taxes. Right.
Yeah, if you have
I was just curious because I see a few of them and I never asked them, but I was just curious as to, is that
yeah, they just don't want to.
or
No, I don't think that's extreme. I've definitely been charged more.
Yeah, I've seen up to $2.50. I've seen 175. Mine is 75 cents. But I've seen up to 250, and that's at like liquor stores or like convenience stores. So again, it's you pay for you. It's what you pay for, supply and demand. You chose to come here. You could have went to the grocery store and avoided this fee. So here we are.
But I was gonna say I would only expect to see that fee from like a small business. I'm not gonna see that fee if I go to like Olive Garden, right? So more established business. So that is something you also need to consider, because you guys are gonna be small businesses forever. So at some point you're gonna figure out, okay, when do I just want to bump up my price, maybe an extra 50 cents, and instead of passing that fee on to them? Because it is something people notice. I noticed when restaurants started charging like this pandemic service fee, like I made it a point not to go back there because I thought that was ridiculous. They just didn't want to upgrade their price. And that was just kind of a lazy add-on to me personally.
And a lot of customers, I found that a lot of my customers, well, not my customers, just customers in general, that they're okay with the fee if you let them know before you apply the fee.
Right.
Like you're going to apply the fee. So they're like, oh, do you take card? Yes, I do. Any electronic payment is a 75-cent fee. Oh, okay.
Once and sometimes they might switch to cash.
Yeah, they're like, and you give them that option, and then so they choose how they want to pay.
Right. Okay.
Anything that uses my card reader, whether it's Apple Pay, Tap Pay, Google Pay, Benny Pay, EBT Pay, as long as you're tapping and you're running my reader, once it goes electronically, then there's a 75-cent fee. Even if you email it over to me.
Yeah,
Now,
keep in mind, actually,
if you're doing Zelle and if you're doing Cash App, then that does not incur a fee.
but also
Even
with credit
Cash
cards,
App
if you
does.
manually type in the number, it is a higher fee. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I had to do it a couple of times where I had to manually put it in, and yeah, they took a
But
yeah.
if it's just a couple times, it's fine with me. If I have to type it in once or twice a week, then I'd probably change my fee. But rarely do I ever have to type in a manual card. And the fee that I charge it balances out over time. So that should be fine. Manual cards, I don't think it's a lot. I mean, it might affect someone else.
Yeah, for caterers, it affects them more.
Yeah.
Because they're getting those, shouldn't be getting an email, but they do. Okay, and I see a question, what is the format for food costing? So I don't know, Marcel, if you came in a little bit later, but I did share a template that you can use, and I shared a couple of formulas that you can use for food costing. So I can always email that back out, but I'll just really quickly pull up that slide again. Let me just go to it. I don't know what part you came in on, but so there were 3 that we kind of touched base. Oh no, it's not one. There were 3 that we kind of went over. Slideshow. Okay. So we just talked about purchase price divided by portion is your recipe cost. So if you just to give you numbers, $30 divided by 50, we had a tamale example, 60 cents per tamale. That was for a simple item. If you're buying something or you have something with one ingredient, drinks. But if you are doing a recipe, you actually need a food cost template. You can either purchase one, smallfoodbiz.com, but there's other companies out there that do. Although I will say, if you have a POS system, a lot of those systems have a food costing template or app built in. So again, technology can help you out. So if you have that POS system, you can use that. And what's great about that is that if it does interface with your invoices, it'll update pricing for you. It's fantastic when I've seen it done correctly. But again, you would need to make sure you have all of the right information in order to get the correct food cost. So you can build this in Excel. You need to know all of your ingredients, how they come packaged, how much they cost, and how much you put into each recipe in order to make this work. So that was that really quick. And then okay, sorry, Marcel. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. I just didn't know if you came in late, so I'm sorry about that. And then the last one was just the plate cost, which is just cost divided by the sales. We'll tell you your plate cost. But I would say we could schedule like a one-on-one if somebody needs a little more detail on the food cost and needs help costing out their products. I know everybody is already a Vermont Slauson client. So I do coaching through them. You can schedule time with them. But if you also are at any other of the centers like PCR or the center, then I can also work with you one-on-one. Marcel, you have another question? I don't know if that's left over.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Sorry. I was yeah, I was listening with my earbuds in, but I was in the dentist chair, so I didn't get to see when you put up the screen.
Wow, you
Okay,
are
but
committed. You're on
part
a
of it,
Zoom at the dentist. My gosh, I'm impressed.
yes. So yeah, so I had to walk from one building to another building. But part of my questions and I was listening to was when you were talking about food costs. So of course, I'm a Jamaican food vendor. I'm a food vendor. I'm on the spot. So I'm cooking. And I've tried my best how to do, to portion out, but I do chicken, I do oxtail. And I'm portioning is, I'm not going to say it's a little bit hard for me. It's a little bit harder for me to be able to do. So what I was trying to do was, especially I use leg quarters for my chicken.
Mm-hmm.
So so there's usually the case weighs 40 pounds.
Okay.
And usually there's like 50
to 55 leg quarters in there. So
Okay.
I
How mu-
use one leg quarter as a portion.
How much does that case cost? We can just do the math right now.
Okay, so it goes up and down. So average cost $22.
$22, but you get 55 portions out of it?
Between 45 to 50 leg quarters.
Okay. And so in this case, we want to do the lower amount, right? So that way we can see worst case scenario. So let's say 45, and then you said $22.
Yes.
All right, so we're just taking the $22 divided by 45. I'm showing 48 cents per leg quarter.
Okay.
So, but that's just a leg quarter. I don't know, I'm sure you're putting seasoning. I don't know if you're brining it, doing other things to it. Okay. So normally you would take that. There's an echo. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but you would take everything you use to make it and add that on. Now, if you don't want to sit down and figure out every single seasoning, because usually seasoning is less expensive unless you're using like saffron, right? You could just add on like an extra 5% to the total cost to help you cover the seasoning.
Right. Okay, so I heard you said you're having 2-3 sides in the plate. So I'm doing jerk chicken. My portion is rice and beans. And then I am doing, and I always say Jamaican food is so complicated. And then I am doing a side of vegetables, which is now, 2 or 3 vegetables, and I'm giving plantain. So I have like 4 components exactly that is in my one serving. And so I've tried to break it down to see, okay, am I making money or am I losing? Sometimes
No, so this is you.
really,
This is what we would do. We would, so instead of a tamale plate, it's our jerk chicken plate, leg quarter, and then we would need to measure out how much rice, how much beans, how much plantain, rice, beans, plantains. So one of veggies.
So I do. So yes. So I do. So I do. Say I did steamed cabbage with carrots.
So then I would also get from, and you don't have to get them from Webster, but I'm just showing you here. I would get a portion scoop. This is exactly what you would do. And you would get, you can pick any size. Maybe you want a 4-ounce one. And what these usually are color coded. So if you wanted the green one to be for your veggies, maybe the 6-ounce one is for the beans and it's got a black handle.
Right.
You got a 2-ounce one for the plantains and it's red, but at least you have a dedicated portion for each item. So you're consistently giving the same amount. So they got the leg quarter, they got 6 ounces of beans, 6 ounces of rice, maybe 6 ounces of cabbage if you wanted, or however you want to switch up, 2 ounces of plantains, and that's it. And we can figure out exactly how much you're giving them based on those exact portions.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to work on that because
But we would need to do a recipe for each one.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll take that format and I'll work and see how it works for this Wednesday. And I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
I don't know who was first, Stephanie or Shaka.
I just wanted to tell Marcel, get those spoons that she's talking about at Restaurant Depot.
Yep,
Okay?
they have a
They're color coded and they have the ounces on it, like she's talking about it. It'll make it so much easier when you're portioning out your food for your containers. Restaurant Depot.
They have them in slotted forms. If you have something really juicy, it'll shake the juice out, and then they have them solid. So that way, if you have something that's thick, the beans, it makes it easy.
And then to Marcel, it could help you. You're kind of gonna go back to scratch with this, with what I'm gonna say, but with those ladles, you'll actually be able to find out how many portions you can give per whatever. So not per pan, because if it's lettuce, lettuce is like, sometimes you get a 3-pound lettuce or a 5-pound lettuce at a better price. So based on how many pounds you purchase, you'll know how many scoops or how many ounces you get out of that lettuce. So you'll know, you can do that math better in the future.
Shaka? You have your hand up. I don't know if you still need to ask a question. Okay.
Hey, I just had a quick question regarding Clover. For first things first, we use Clover and I love it because of the online system, the way that you can change your inventory, you can add discounts, and it all transfers to each one of the Clovers and you can update them all together. So that's what I love about the Clover. My question is, how do you fix one? If one stopped working, do you think it's best to reach back out to the representative, which was a representative from Restaurant Depot who originally sold them to us, to fix them, or?
Yeah, you should have an assigned rep, but if you don't, there is a call center line, and I think that call center line is on the actual terminal. Like if there's a button you can go to, because when I've used Clover, you hit the button, it actually calls you directly. But if not, I have a rep that I can connect you to, and she can at least direct you. She can look up your account by your address and say, okay, this is your rep. Here's our, email or contact number.
Okay, yeah, I just wasn't sure if he was just a direct sales rep or would we need to go to customer service. So it's fine. I can reach back out to him. He was
Okay,
pretty
yeah, no, they actually, Clover has a contract with Restaurant Depot, so they can sell there. So you're dealing with the direct rep.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thank you.
And then I think Stephanie, you had a question?
It was just a comment. I just wanted to basically tell you thank you. By the way, I'm Stephanie from Sweet Blessings Bakery. You purchased from me last week. Thank you. Just wanted to say thank you, first of all, and also the costing. Oh my God, it just brought back memories from culinary art school, and
There
I
you
want
go.
to appreciate you breaking it down because I lost my my cost sheets that I had in my last laptop, and I mean it was so helpful that how they broke it down, in culinary art school. But you did it the same way.
Oh, okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
that.
And then I remember your red velvet cake because my daughter stole it from me. I let her take a bite, her eyes like got big, and she was like, so yeah, I remember Sweet Blessing. And then you're welcome. Nakia?
Yes, I know you said that we can schedule an appointment with you Vermont Slauson. Is there a direct link to your Calendly, or how do we go about doing that?
No, here, I'm gonna just drop my email in the chat, asia@askasia.com, only because I have 4 emails, and so Calendly, it doesn't link with 2 of them. So I can't use Calendly, and I would just schedule with you directly. But if you already have an advisor at Vermont Slauson, you do have to get approval because I'm considered a specialty advisor. So they have to send me an email saying, hey, can you spend an hour or 2 hours, with this person working on food costs? And then I could do it. I can't just book it directly with you. It has to come as a referral. So if you have worked with Terry Gubaton, you can email him directly. He sends me people all the time. And then if you're having any trouble, I do have other centers that I work with that you could sign up with, and then it's a different process. And so you can just email me.
And then this is Jen. If you want to sign up with Vermont Slauson, you can just shoot me an email, and then I will coordinate with Terry, Adrian, or one of the other people over at Vermont Slauson. So if you want to set up a one-on-one with Asia, just please send me an email.
I am gonna have to run. I just have a client meeting, but thank you so much. You guys, I love how engaged you guys are because I teach this class a lot and usually people are really quiet. So I love that you guys spoke up and you shared a lot of resources. So that's fantastic. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. I think most of you, not all of you, but most of you, and then, trying some more food.
Thanks, Asia.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, so Ebony, just based on what Jen said, can you email info@blackwomenvend.com first, and then she'll connect me with you guys. Stop the recording.